Hey, hi, hello, how's it going? So this is my first ever long form YouTube video. Yeah, I am very awkward as a person when it comes to making these, so please bear with me, I'm so sorry. I'm more of a in-person yapper or live, but videos, I'm kind of like trying to learn how to edit, learn how to do things. It's all a learning process, so we're here. But, I used to make, or I was making a lot of like shorts videos because they were just kind of simple, easy to make, or whatever. Do painting turnarounds, time lapse videos, or like works in progress and stuff. So I really wanted to do a long form one for a long time, honestly, probably like maybe a year now. But I was like really anxious and I kept thinking about it too much. And I even got to a point where I was recording over the videos like as a voiceover and I would just delete it. I remember I spent like several hours doing a re-recording of a voiceover just to delete it and never post it. I was just like, you know what? No, I give up. And so here we are now. I'm finally doing, that. But I kind of wish that I could include a video of myself speaking right now, just because like I'm very awkward when it comes to trying to do voiceovers and explain this, and it probably put me more at ease. But I couldn't figure that out. So that's something I'll figure out for later. But for now. Hey, hi, you can call me Psycho, you can call me Mutation, you can call me Yes. But here I am. I do a lot of different mediums just because I like to experiment. I'm a very curious person. And so whenever it comes down to anything creative related, I will dip my toes in it just because of how curious I am. Same thing when it comes to, at one point in time, I thought I wanted to be a tattooist. So I started learning how to tattoo. And I'm going to tell you right now, I was doing, I was like, practicing everything. I was like, you know what? This is not for me. Maybe as a hobby every so often, but not as a career path. So I was like, this is cool, but I just like being able to just draw the things that I want to draw. And I know that there's going to be people out there who are like, I want this specific thing, and you can't really have a say-so, so to speak. And so it's more along the line of, same with commissions, the way that just depends on what it is. But I'm very, I don't know, I don't really like being told what to draw unless I genuinely want to draw it. But other than that, I just like to do my own thing. So here I am doing my own thing. And with that being said, I kind of just draw whatever I want to draw. If I feel inspired to draw something, then I will, I'll do it. And then especially like fan art and everything, I'm cool with that. It just depends on what it is. But yeah, it's just more along the line of me just wanting to draw the stuff that I have in my head, because I have like a ton of ideas. I just don't have the skill for it too much, and so I'm kind of trying to get better as we speak. And that's actually going to be like a playlist that I have as well, and I'll just kind of like talk more about that later. I also messed up when I put that spiral on her head, the black one. I was going to make it some kind of galaxy, and then I decided, you know what, I don't really like it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a separate, I'm gonna make a separate character, and I'm gonna give them that or a similar idea. So, something that's just like more fitting and more aligns with the character. So basically, I have all these characters in mind that I want to do, but I can't at the moment. I mean, I can't do them just because my skill level's not there yet. I just want to be able to take the stuff that I have in my head and put it on the paper, but I can't do that because you guys can't see what's going on right now, but like I'm doing a lot of like stuff. This is where I wish I had my camera, that way you can kind of like see my expressive. I'll figure that out for later so you guys can like vibe with me, because people who know the people who know me probably know what I'm doing right now behind this like voice over thingamabobber. But yeah, so I have a lot of things that I want to create, bring to life, and I really like the way that it was turning out at this point, especially with the bold black lines. I was like, oh yeah, I like this. And so it's just one of those things where there's so many things that I have in mind that I just randomly draw. And I guess the biggest part for me to just be able to randomly draw stuff, even as a kid, I didn't realize that when people, like, when other kids were like drawing stuff that they would see or whatever, it was more along the line of they were actually using references and building their visual library super early. And I didn't realize what the hell a reference was at the time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, for the longest, I used to think that it was cheating to use a reference. And so I'm trying to now, just for, anatomy and all this other kind of stuff for like real people or whatever. That way I can kind of like get into the habit of actually proportionally making them correct. But I was like, wow, like, dude, you know, it's just one of those things where my stuff just would just prominently be in my head, and trying to get the things out of my head to real life, it was the most difficult aspect of it. I mean, you can't draw something that you don't know how to draw, you know. But yeah, over time, when you draw things enough, you start to, you know, gain some kind of muscle memory, and you're like, cool beans, I can like do this now. And so the biggest part is like practice. I see so many things about, you know, you got to practice this and practice that. And I'm just like, damn, you know, I really need to practice more. But, you know, I don't. So I have like a crap ton of sketchbooks, and I plan on making like a little sketchbook series where I'm practicing with those things as a playlist. I mean, same with some of the other stuff, you know, I might color it, might not color it. I love, oh my god, I love acrylic markers. Oh my goodness. I really like them. I used to want markers like a really long time ago, like the whole Copic alcohol markers. I mean, at one point in time, yeah, I used water-based, you know, like Crayola markers, you know, at that point. But there's also, you know, other markers that are water-based. I can't remember what they were called, but they had like the little brush tips. There's a bunch of different ones. I am not going to be able to tell you. I was like, it was way back when. But I got some acrylic markers, I think it was last year, and I fell in love. I fell in love with them. Before that is the alcohol markers. I really loved those too. I experimented. I was like, oh my god, these are amazing. I didn't understand why people swatched their markers on like a little sheet with all the different colors, and they wrote the color of it. And then I understood why. Because some of them are different than what they said. It'll be like on the tip of the marker, it'll have like the color hue on there, but then when you go to do the thing, it's actually like a darker color or a lighter color than what it looks like. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I understand now, I get it. But yeah, so I'm gonna be experimenting with like several different kinds of those, just to see like which ones I like, which ones I don't like. Same with color pencils. Now I will say the whole color pencil aspect are my favorites are Prismacolor. I will stick by those. Haven't tried too many of those, but I'm very content with the Prismacolor pencils. They're really good. They feel soft, easy to blend. Like I haven't colored with color pencils in I don't know how long, so I might actually do something like that soon. Now that I think about it, it's making me want to draw right now. But yeah, I really like the way that, you know, this is coming out. The way that she looks. You know, if you couldn't guess, she's a dark elf. My elf, you know. I really like this whole genre. And I actually didn't know what kind of stuff that I painted or drew or whatever for a while. Until somebody asked me. They were like, you like dark fantasy stuff, huh? And I was like, yeah, how could you tell? And they were like, your art. And I was like, oh. I was like, what? And then I started looking at my art immediately after they said that, because I was like, how the fuck? And then I was like, oh, I understand now. I get it. Because for me, it didn't click. I was just drawing what I was drawing, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. But, you know, when I was younger, I used to read a lot of stuff. I mean, it's not like I don't still read now. I do read. I just read less just because I'm always doing art. But it's really nice to pick up a book, and you can actually, like, imagine the scenes or what's going on and everything. And everything is inspiration. Music, art, you know, writing, poetry, outside, people. Like, it's crazy how much stuff there is out there. And it's just like, dude, like, oh my gosh. But, you know, some people could look at one thing and just be like, nah. And I'm like, how don't you see the beauty in this stuff? Like life is beautiful in itself. Like, just the things that we have around us, like the stuff, like how far we come along. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of negatives out there. There is. But, you know, you gotta be out there. You gotta do the things and the stuff. But yeah, so I'm just ranting at this point. I was trying to figure out how to, like, incorporate talking about myself and how I am as a person, and just, like, some of the stuff that I like and dislike and everything, just so you guys get a feel of who and how I am. But I couldn't really think of any way to kind of, like, throw that out there. I did at one point write a paper, you know, kind of like some points to talk about, but my brain doesn't work that way. I'm sorry, I can't. But, you know, if there are questions or anything like that you want to know about me, or like some things, I could just throw that out there in a video and just yap away when it comes down to some of the art stuff. But yeah, it's kind of like one of those things where I can't really control the way that what my brain goes to, and where how my mouth takes control of the situation, basically, just because it's just how I am. I've tried to like write stuff down. I've tried to just kind of like organize my thoughts and my words, and it just doesn't work out at all. Which is probably why, like, I've deleted and re-recorded, the voiceover so many times, which is another reason why I'm like, if there was a video, you would see how I'm like acting or reacting and like trying to explain everything. And so you would understand where I'm coming from with this stuff. But yeah, the people who do actually like know me, they know. They know. And so it's kind of just like, I don't know. But when you're talking to a bunch of strangers that you've never met on the internet, it's kind of just like, oh, hi, how do I interact with you guys? Like, trying to essentially be myself, but also make sense. Because, I'm going to be honest, I don't make a lot of sense a lot of the time. And so people kind of have to put the pieces, reorganize the pieces to understand stuff. But yeah, it's just one of those things, and I just completely stopped talking about the painting, and, this part caught my attention just now. But I really like the blue. I actually changed the blue to like a more turquoise color, and that's also another one of my favorite colors. Yeah, I just really like the way that this turned out overall. I didn't expect it to be this way, to be honest, because I noticed I started changing my face shapes, and I really like the way that those have turned out. And then I covered up the spirals because I didn't like them. Changed the position because there was my old camera stand. It was like a curved wobbly one, and like the light would kind of go in and out. And then I got a new one actually within the time frame where I was painting, but I was also waiting. So what I did was I set it up, and I should have put like the more natural light setting on there instead of this one, just because it probably would have like reflected better, but it didn't cover like the whole thing because of the angle, I guess. But yeah, so I mean, I don't really know. It's just kind of like one of those things where I'm like, oof. And, you kind of live and you learn. Just because this room doesn't have a lot of natural light. It's the same room, And so it doesn't have a lot of natural light just due to this one window and the way that it's positioned and everything. So it's like, ugh. So I have to use light that kind of like emulates natural light. And this wasn't necessarily the best one to use. It was just the first one I clicked on. And I was like, oof. Didn't realize till afterwards, though. But it's okay, though. Yeah, but I really like the way that it was turning out around this part. I took away the little spirals just to, I don't know. I feel like maybe they would have just looked good the way that they were originally in there, but I don't know. I don't know. I took it away. But yeah, I really feel like this character, in a way, is like a piece of me, if that makes sense. Because I actually paint with my emotions. Whatever I'm feeling in the moment, whatever's going on, it's just like what that is, like, it's what I make. And it's not always emotionally driven. Sometimes it's inspiration, but like a lot of it is feeling. And I'm actually gonna make a short talking about a piece that I made when I was feeling something, and I didn't realize that I was feeling that. I just painted, and it made sense afterwards, like, I want to say, like, a couple months later, and I was like, wow, like, I didn't even realize it when I made it. So I was basically venting through my art. And so I feel like that's another reason why art is so important as well. Like, there are some people out there who don't see the value in it, and are like, oh, well, I can do that. And it's just like, some of these people, like, spend decades of their life creating what you say that you can make with no skill, like, with not really being able to make anything. And so it's kind of just like one of those things where it's like, you don't understand the different, like, types of stuff that people make or whatever are connected to other things, especially if they are emotionally feeling pieces, which I didn't realize that a good bit are, and so it's kind of just one of those things where, what you interpret through the art, like, it's all subjective to everybody. If, let's say I make a piece out of sadness, somebody else could be like, oh, I resonate with that, but not like in a sad way. And then, I make something that's happy, and someone could, kind of take that as you know, something that's tied into sadness. Like, we all have different things that kind of trigger different things in our brains because we all live different lives and have different perspectives of everything. And so it's just one of those things where it's like you don't know. You don't know. And so I remember when I used to stream like more consistent at one point in time, and being told that like my streams like help people when they had like a bad day or whatever. I was just like, I'm not even doing anything. I'm literally just talking. And I don't know, it kind of like made me feel a little guilty, a little bad, just because yeah, I don't know. I have like this innate urge to want to help people already. And so I was just like, oh shit, you know? But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I always feel like you're able to help people through your art as well, like when it comes down to those things. And a lot of people don't know. Like, I know there's plenty of pieces that I've seen where I resonate with it, or animations or whatever the case is, and I was like, wow, like that really hits hard. And it's just like reopened things and made me think about stuff in different ways, especially seeing how many people connect with that same piece in the same manner, or even how some people connect with that piece in a different manner. It's crazy. But yeah, so this is kind of like the way that the piece is turning out. I really liked it, the way that it went and how it, you know, all this other kind of stuff, added all this extra stuff just to put the spirals back on there. I know, I took it away, brought it back, but I really liked it. This is how it was without a frame, and then this is how it is with the frame. So yeah, hope you guys like it.